All right, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Scouching Live. I'm the host of the show, Will. I apologize for the slight delay. In true fashion, I forgot to turn my light on here. Otherwise, how else would you know that the show was going on, right? How else would you know? Welcome. I apologize for the tardiness. I was eating my lunch, and it actually took me a lot longer than I thought it would. And I'm still picking the remnants out of my teeth, but you don't need to know that. It's fine. It's fine. Let me know if you've been there. But anyway, welcome to the show. Big day over here. Literally, another reason I'm a little late. I was just cramming the write-ups for the rankings. They are done. They are submitted to the boss. My boss in the cloud, not God, but whatever, that's fine too. But my the servers that host my website, I had to submit those. So anyway, that's enough nonsense for now. Those are submitted. So if you are a paid subscriber of the site, not only are we doing 25% off, which I should probably mention here in the thing. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, 25% off now! Exclamation mark. No, we don't need to. It's automatically applied. If you're watching or listening, you will just know. But it's your first payment. But anyway, wow, this is off to a really great start, eh? What was I saying? The rankings are submitted. If you are a paid subscriber at any tier, you now have access to them. You can read write-ups. There's 102, 101 players in there, whether you get at least something. They're submitted. I think they're the greatest thing that was ever put on the internet. And we're hiding the ranking from the stream today. We did so about halfway through the show on Monday night. Actually, yeah. And then the other thing too, Gavin McKenna's report is scheduled for tomorrow. So tomorrow at noon, the last scouting report for the season will drop. And of course, it's Gavin McKenna. Ivar Stenberg was yesterday, if that's what you're into. I'll also mention that the Scouching community mock draft is on Monday. And we still have spots open, which is not what I expected. But we still have spots open. So if you've missed your opportunity, I'll put it in the chat for both streams here, the portrait and landscape. You can register, and the gist of it is Monday night at around 8:30. The gist of it is at 8 o'clock Monday night. We're going to all gather and have each team gets 3 picks. We're going to randomize the order on Monday. And everyone will get 3 picks. You get 30 seconds to make your pick. The first pick goes off the board at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, half an hour into the show. So please, be on time, please. And yeah, we still have some spots open. If you don't make it, then we have a reserve list, so I'll be in touch with you and be on hand Monday night, if that's what you want to do. But yeah, still some room. It's free, just make sure you're there. That's all I ask. That would be great. And then as well on the channel, we've got Monday night stream scheduled. Tuesday afternoon, we're doing a show for the ranking release publicly. So if you don't pay for scouching.ca, you will get access to the rankings then on Tuesday afternoon. Then Thursday night, we're having a little jam party. We're going to have a little game fun. Have a little bit of fun. See if some folks join me for the festivities the night before the draft, and then we'll live stream Friday and Saturday. Those are also scheduled, and then Monday night we're doing the recap show, and that will be outside of free agency day on July 1st. It'll be the last show of the season, so that's excellent. We're having a lot of fun. But yeah, so anyway, just to recap, the rankings are done. And The McKenna report comes out tomorrow. It's scheduled, so you can set a reminder if you want to see it. And then next week is just next week. We're in. You know, it's the end of it. I mean, I've been watching a lot of the World Cup, having a lot of fun with that. I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but is a tie considered an upset? You know, like if you tie a game, you know, like we saw Portugal and the Democratic Republic of Congo tie a game. I assume that's considered an upset. I mean, it is in my mind. It's more of an upset than not. I mean, Portugal, that should be an easy 3 points, but I guess not. Cape Verde Islands, that was one of the most heroic sporting performances I've ever seen from, what was the goalkeeper's name? Vigino or whatever. What was his name? Oh, man. I'm not up to date on my... Vozina. I'm not up to date on my Cape Verde Islander names. Yeah, upsetting for both teams makes sense. Sorry. Oh man, yeah. I had yogurt and granola for lunch, and granola is adhesive to your innards. So, yeah. Okay. You didn't need to know that. We're padding time while people show up early here, you know? We're padding some time. Maybe instead of the rankings in my window here, I can just have a live ticker for the SpaceX stock price. That's been a ride. That's been a riot to watch if you're into that type of thing. Am I dying? I'm not dying yet. I hope I'm not dying. I mean, everybody's dying all the time, right? Like in some way. But in this moment, no, not dying. That was my best Heather Cox Richardson impression, by the way, for any HCR heads. In this moment, I am not passing away, thankfully. At least not yet. Okay, let's see what we got. Thoughts on the PWHL draft? I did watch the first round last night. I watched a bit on the bike. And I mean, look, I honestly, I think it is one of those moments. The last couple of years, obviously the PWHL is growing exceptionally quickly, and that's awesome. Like, I honestly, one of the best games I've been to in the last few years has been a Toronto Scepters game, and it was great. And now there's two teams near me that I can check out. But it feels like the PWHL has been kind of in this like era of, you know, the older guard of women's hockey kind of like getting their moment to be on the forefront and on the front stage, and, you know, setting the stage and the foundation for a sustainable long-term, you know, women's league. And I think they've done an amazing job at that, right? Like Hillary Knight and Natalie Spooner and you know, all those like pioneers of the sport. You know, I think that they and I think those women are all, you know, they're all in their 30s. They're my age, right? Like these are people who would have been coming up when I was a young guy. And I think this draft, like I think this PWHL draft kind of sets the stage for like the next batch, like the first group of the next batch that are hopefully going to take the PWHL to a place where it's like, you know, not just a thing that people know exists, but like solidified as a sort of self-sustaining, you know, exciting enterprise that is really growing from like a marketing standpoint, right? I'm not saying it's not that already, but I just mean like you watch the women who were drafted this year play, right? Most notably, at least in my experience, obviously Caroline Harvey, but like Layla Edwards and Abby Murphy, like those three are, and I believe they were 1, 2, 3, not in that order, but I believe it was Harvey, Murray, Harvey, Murphy, and Edwards. And it was like, especially Caroline Harvey. Like I cannot I cannot wait to see her play at that level. I think she's for for the sport that they're in, like she is one of the most incredible athletes for her age that's out there, I think. Like in women's hockey, I think she is just a generational level player. And I don't know, I mean, Marie-Philippe Poulin, sure, you could argue is like, at least with how clutch she is, might be like a generational-ish player. But I don't think that in women's hockey there's like one name, you know, like where it's like undoubtedly this is one of the greatest to ever do it in women's hockey. And I feel like Caroline Harvey could be one of those. I think she's just so good, and she's been so good for so long. And, you know, obviously Vancouver being the team that picks first overall, like we'll see how they go with Harvey on the team, but like it's a huge get. And like, again, Abby Murphy is another one for different reasons too. Like she's a forward, but like a little bit of a pesky, little bit of a bugger, you know, a little bit of a bit of an antagonist, so to speak. And I think that's the environment in which she thrives. And it feels like that drama that can stem from that, like we've seen it on display, like at the Olympics, and like it's there when Abby Murphy's playing, like you can see it. And so having a bit of that added to the league, and like everyone knows it from day one, is just a lot of fun. Like it adds another dimension that wasn't quite there from like a marketing standpoint. And Layla Edwards, I mean, is just a fascinating case study, right? Like in the past, I've seen her play forward. She was listed as a defenseman for the draft, and I believe she was playing defense at the Olympics. That's something I should be able to remember, but it was, you know, my brain is mush these days. But she's another really exciting one that, again, has this other sort of source of intrigue about her. You know, being one of these like big, great finishing, almost potentially a dual threat, like dual position player. It's exciting. Like it's exciting that they are taking moments and steps towards like not just being a successful league, but like a marketing engine, you know, like something that actually like something that has a level of momentum behind it. You know what I mean? Like obviously the PWHL has momentum, but adding younger players that are elite level talents that have been to the Olympics and yada 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 is really exciting. And especially American women. I mean, go back to the Olympics, right? The Canadian women were the oldest team in the tournament by like a margin. Like I think their average age was 30 or 31, and the US was 25. Like I think I did the numbers on this. It was like I think the US had the US team's average age. Canada had 3 or 4 women on the team that were younger than the average age of the United States team. And I'm amazed that there's not more discussion in Canada about that with women's hockey. It's pretty clear to me that is something, you know, again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, that is evidence of a thing that maybe should be thought about a little bit, you know. Maybe that's something that we should maybe think about and deal with, because those American women, like, they are good. They are really good. And college women's hockey is taking some steps, you know. So anyway, it's really exciting. I enjoyed the event from what I saw. Again, I only really saw the first round. I kind of kept up a little bit over the evening last night. I was watching a lot of the World Cup, and I was alone at home last night, so I made myself some oh my god, was it, oh my god, I'm so tired. Yeah, I made me some carbonara, homemade carbonara last night. You know, I have some thick cut bacon in the freezer that I thawed, and had a couple of fresh eggs from the local market. Made some carbonara. Made too much, ate too much, felt terrible for a couple of hours. but watched a lot of the World Cup, and so I was kind of popping in and out on the PWHL draft. But it was really good. I think it's like a seminal moment for the league. At least it could be. And obviously, having a bunch of expansion teams is interesting. There's part of me that wonders if it's a lot really fast, but I get the feeling that, at the end of the day, like, even if it is like a dilutive event, like adding a bunch of teams all at once in women's hockey, I mean, I'm not going to complain if Caroline Harvey bursts into the league next year and is the leading scorer in the league and is just dummying everybody. I would not complain about that. At least in my experience watching the PWHL, Kendall Coyne kind of has that juice, and Hillary Knight too had it, but there isn't that, like, at least in my experience, and you can correct me if you believe otherwise, but like, it doesn't seem like there's that, like, you hold on to your seat and just go, holy crap, look at this player go. And I would say that even Jada Ginla, like, I hadn't seen too much of Jada Ginla play hockey, but like, I was poking in and out last night and just checking them out as I saw them being drafted, and she's also pretty darn good. Those Ginla kids, man, they are pretty good. And so it's like, if there's a bit of that, like, when the player's on the ice, you hold on to your butt and you just go for a ride, and it's just like really exciting. I think there's goaltending that's like that in that league. Like, some of the goaltenders in women's hockey are phenomenal. But in terms of that, like, real, like, skater who just blows you away, I feel like maybe it's kind of in a bit of a lull right now, but I think this draft class will change that awfully quickly. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I did dabble in the sort of PWHL world earlier this year, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the time to juggle women's and men's hockey, especially when women's hockey is, the draft class is literally anybody. That is, the criteria is not particularly strict. And so you have a huge class of potential draft picks, and it just makes it a little difficult to stay on top of it. But nevertheless, really exciting, and I think it is a big moment for women's hockey for sure. Thoughts on Kesselring trade? So if you don't know, San Jose traded 27th overall and Michael Kesselring for 20th overall from Buffalo. I mean, it seems like Kesselring wasn't really a fit in Buffalo anyway, and he was injured, and obviously they went pretty deep in the playoffs without playing him, and so I guess for Buffalo it's like, you can upgrade your draft slot, and I think in this year's draft, the difference between 20 and 27, based on who's available in my book, probably not that big of a difference. So, I mean, it depends on who you pick, right? Like, you could always just punt the pick or something if you're San Jose or something, or Buffalo for that matter. But I don't think the downgrade from 20 to 7 is that big of a deal. And I mean, the San Jose Sharks, don't I know it? They need defensemen. They really do. That's like the gap on that team, really. At least the biggest one. And so they got one. And they didn't, like, they basically, in my books, got a defenseman almost for free. Right? Like, the trade down 7 picks in the later parts of the first round, like, I'm not gonna moan and complain about it if I'm getting a guy I know is gonna play in the NHL for me right away. And be like, even if Kesselring is a replacement level 50th percentile NHL defenseman, if you get that with the 20th overall pick, that's pretty good. Like, that's a decent pick. So yeah, like it's essentially trading a 3rd round pick for Kesselring, which is a great pickup. I agree. I think that is a really good pickup. So I think with Kesselring, like, yeah, you're adding something you desperately need. I think he's a decent fit based on what I've seen of him in Buffalo this year. Again, I didn't see the Sabres play a tremendous amount, but I think he's part of what the Sharks could use. Like, they do seem to like guys with a bit of size and range, and maybe they don't need their defensemen to be the most offensively impactful guys out there, I don't think. Like, they have guys like Sam Dickinson who could do that. So yeah, for me, it's just very interesting that yeah, it's just very interesting that that's a deal that went down, and that, like, it makes me wonder what Buffalo's thinking, because like moving up 7 spots in the draft when you're a team like Buffalo, unless there's a player they really, really want and are going to do this to guarantee that they get them, it makes me wonder if it's like, look, Kesselring wasn't going to stick around anyway. It wasn't working out, and we can improve our draft slot, and it makes it more attractive to other teams if we do this, which I think is totally legitimate, right? Like if you go, hey, we'll give you this and this and this in the 27th overall pick, it sounds a certain way. But then if you turn around and then they go, well, we'll give you such and such a thing and the 20th overall pick, then my my Neanderthal, my caveman brain might perk up a little bit and go, oh, that's interesting. You have a top 20 pick that you're willing to give us. Yeah, it's 20th, but so yeah, I get it from both teams' perspective, especially if, I mean, Buffalo seems like they're also looking at moving Bowen Byram as of today. And so Buffalo is going through something. Buffalo's going through something, and they're trying some stuff, and we'll see what happens and what they end up looking like. But Bowen Byram in the 20th overall pick might be able to get you something pretty decent. And Bowen Byram in 27, at least perception-wise, I don't think carries the same kind of weight. So in a way, I see it from Buffalo's perspective. And it's like, if I'm Buffalo, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to get a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, getting rid of, like, instead of moving up and just moving up 7 spots, you also want, like, a mid-round or later-round pick? Like, I don't know. It's probably not worth hand-wringing over. So yeah, it's an interesting deal though. And I mean, Mike Grier has done this before, trading up in the draft or trading around in the draft. And he did it again today, trading draft picks and everything a week before the draft. Which honestly, I kind of get, right? Like, on one hand, I'm kind of thinking like, well, why would Buffalo make that deal unless what if someone at 20, why would San Jose make that deal if someone at 20 that they love is available? But I don't think Mike Grier is thinking about it that way. I think he's looking at it like, I need a defenseman, and my fans are screaming at me to take a defenseman, so why don't I just basically get one for nothing? And one who is kind of solid. That'll at least help out for now. And I think that makes sense. And you just get the deal done. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I like it for both teams, though, especially seeing what Buffalo could do with it. We'll see. As a Canucks fan, I have hope for the first time in years. Calling DeBrusk to Ottawa for 32nd. Maybe. I don't know if there's evidence of that happening. I will be very curious to see what Ottawa does at the 32nd overall pick if they keep it. But also, Ottawa, it wouldn't surprise me if they just traded it, because that team is in no position to continue building for the future. They have to. They've made the playoffs 2 years in a row and been eliminated in the first round 2 years in a row. Who knows what's going on between the ears of Brady Tkachuk anymore? I don't even know. You might need to start thinking about. And I think they could be a good team next year, right? Like, yeah, they got swept by Carolina, but that's not an easy team to beat. And I thought that series was a close sweep, as silly as that sounds. I thought that series was a relatively close sweep. At the end there, it got a little out of control, but Ottawa put up a fight. I mean, it started with a fight, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens. Which prospect do you think would benefit the most from turning their worst category of the game into being on par with their best? Would they be number one if this happened? Wow. It's a good question. I mean, my first thought is that if Xavier Villeneuve was more physical, like more of a purely board-heavy physical defenseman at times, people might take note, but I don't think it's that big of a gap. It's a really good question, though. I'm trying to think. Let me look at my list that you can't see yet, unless you pay me money. Like if Ryan Lynn's skating ability were like as high end as a guy like Chase Reed or Albert Smiths or whatever, or Verti Svensk, I think he could be a top 10, maybe top 5 pick. Like I think that he could be insanely good. That's the thing that kind of holds me back from putting him a lot higher. But that is a really good question. Yeah, that's the one that I'm seeing just looking through this. I mean, like, Mathis Preston's inconsistency, like, at times the unreliability of Preston with the puck on his stick can be a real frustration. Like seeing him skating out of the defensive zone and just flip the puck across the blue line to nobody and it just comes back the other way and then he goes for a change. Like that type of thing is going to make you go crazy. But if I could change that and be like every single shift, I know he's going to be a guy that hits a forward on the far side of the ice with a crisp, hard breakout pass and then go for a change, or at least get to the red line and dump it, get the puck in deep, to steal a cliche. Then I might be like, okay, then yeah, that's probably a top end guy. Maybe Viggo Bjork getting a little bit quicker. Like Bjork's ability to generate speed is good but not great, and I think his style of play will require it to be great. That would probably do it. So there's a few, but it's a good question. Actually, I was curious because this was asked or mentioned that the math nerd said that the Kesselring deal was basically a 3rd round pick. I am curious of what I took my draft pick model values from an academic paper from like a decade ago, so I'm sure there's part of my logic that's a little out of date. So let's see here. I can't go back in time, but okay. San Jose has I guess I could just reformat or redo the trade. But anyway, let's see Buffalo, and we'll say 7 rounds. I'm just curious what the packages would look like if it were in this model here. And they were trading back to San Jose. Yeah, my model values it a little bit more than that, but like late second, like for me, it says that to move down to 27 with what San Jose has now, you're looking at adding 62 and 201. So like the last pick in the 2nd round and a 7th round pick, or like 2/4 and a 7th. So that kind of lines up to me. Yeah. 27 and 62 would do it. So pretty close. Okay. All right. What else do we got here? What do we got? If Buffalo wasn't in the division, maybe we could. I don't know who he is. Besides Parayko, what else could the Blues need to give up for number 2? Oh boy. If I'm Mike Greer, I'm not doing a deal around Colton Parayko and number 2 overall. I'm not doing it. You'd have to throw in draft, like St. Louis has 3 first-round picks. I'd want 2 of them. Because, like, in my mind, there's part of me that thinks I'm doing you a favor by taking on the contract, and I think that Parayko was not amazing this year. Did not think he was amazing at the Olympics. There's a big part of me that would be very hesitant to move the number 2 overall pick. Like, again, like look at the Kesselring deal. They got a serviceable NHL defenseman without even having to touch a top pick. Like, just because you have it doesn't mean that you have to move it and find something to fill a gap. Like, I don't even think you have to give up 2 for Colton Parayko. I wouldn't. Like, if you wanted to make something around 27, then maybe. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't really see it. At least I wouldn't do it. Like, I want you to scratch my back because I'm giving up a lot at number 2 overall, in my opinion. What if it was Thomas and Parayko for 2nd and 20th? Oh, man. That's tempting. That is tempting. But I'd have to do my due diligence. Like, I don't know enough on a granular level about Robert Thomas to see if he's actually worth what everyone is saying he's worth. I mean, every time I watch the Blues, he is very good, but that's the thing. That reminds me, I totally forgot to watch Emil Andre tape today because I know people were going to ask about him. Kesselring, sure, I did a little bit last night before I went to bed, but Andre, I totally forgot about him. The laughingstock of the city of Toronto, acquiring small, weak, tiny boy defensemen. Sorry, my microphone is bothering me. Gotta make sure I don't mute myself by accident like I do once a month, it seems. Okay, that's better. That's a little better. Okay. How close does 20 and Byram get you to Fox? Well, if I'm the Rangers, I don't think Byram's a fit there. Like, what do you think the Rangers are gonna, like, if they're thinking we need to get if the Rangers strategy is we need to get rid of Keandre Miller and then a year later we need to get rid of Adam Fox, and the guys you bring in are Scott Morrow and Bowen Byram, I don't think it lines up with what they like in a defenseman. This is a team that is riding like Will Borgen and Braden Schneider, right? Like, that doesn't sound like Bowen Byram to me. I just don't think it would work. To me, it would be like adding something that is just not in their wheelhouse for like what works strategically. I mean, I like a Bowen Byram. If it were me, I'd like to have him on the team. I wouldn't trade Adam Fox. If I'm the Rangers, if I trade Adam Fox, I don't want anything in return. Like, if I'm trading Adam Fox, it's automatic rebuild time, blow it up mode, right? Like, because he's one of the best defensemen in the world, and I just think that like like what are you gonna like? You're taking a defenseman downgrade, and your team already isn't very good. Like, so what's the benefit of adding a Bowen Byram? Like, to me, if I'm the Rangers, if I think I'm competitive for whatever reason, I don't know why you trade Adam Fox, right? And I'm not like, I want to be clear, I'm not picking on you. This is my thought experiment, right? Like, I just don't see it. And if I am trading Adam Fox, I don't think I'd be like thinking a mid-first round pick and Bowen Byram coming the other way. Like, trading Adam Fox should be like a foundational level reset, right? Like, not as much as what Quinn Hughes got, probably, but not that much less, I don't think. That wouldn't be so bad. Like, and Vancouver got 4 pieces that are strong, foundational, young players that can stick for a long time. Very, very, very interesting deal for Vancouver. So for the Rangers, like, I'd be thinking like, you're giving me Östlund, Hellenius, 20, Luke Osborne, maybe throw him in there because I think he's great. Like, I'm going down the laundry list here of guys that are either NHL players now and can transplant right onto the team that are young and controlled, or and also some futures. If I'm moving Adam Fox, because like getting a guy who's pushing 30 to play defense for you, who's an offensive guy that, again, like they acquired Scott Morrow, who you don't draft him to play defense. You draft him to play on your power play and score points and play offensively. And they put him in the AHL all year and traded a guy who ended up winning the Stanley Cup for him. It's awfully strange how you don't hear too many people yelling and screaming and complaining about the Rangers trading a guy who went off and won a Stanley Cup in K'Andre Miller. You hear a lot about Mitch Marner, but you don't hear too much about K'Andre Miller. But yeah, I mean, it's awfully strange. But for me, yeah, I think there's a deal to be made there. I think you might be onto something. But if I'm the Rangers and I'm trading Adam Fox, that is the signal to the team and the organization, like, we're gonna be bad because you traded Adam Fox. Like, I don't know how that helps you. But you could acquire stuff that jump right in and build for the future. We'll see. But, like, what is Mika Zibanejad going to do? You know? I have no idea. Using Puckpedia's metrics, the difference between 20 and 27 is pick 46. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in my model, it's 62 and a seventh, so that makes sense. Trading down late in the first before you know if a guy you want is available is a risk that doesn't make sense. Well, that's the thing. Like, to me, it's about the perception around the value of 20 versus the perception around the value of 27. Like, it's a more attractive sounding thing to offer to other teams. It gives you more flexibility, I would think. And maybe there is somebody that Buffalo, like, really, really, really likes that they know is going to be gone. Like, at this point in the year, I've had people texting me, like, this team kind of likes this guy. This team kind of likes this guy. This team is thinking this guy might go really high. This guy this and this guy this, right? And so if there's chatter around and Buffalo goes, well, I don't want them to have him, and he almost certainly will be there at 20, you know? Like, maybe Buffalo is really interested in a guy like Villeneuve, you know? And they go, well, he's gonna go at 24. Like, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen, but yeah. Fox in 5th for Knights. Oh god. Oh, I mean, look, I think the Rangers would covet a guy like Matthew Knies, and I think that's half the reason that you're seeing a lot of trade rumors about him. I think teams think he's a lot better than he is, and it's not like he isn't good. I think he's a very, very good player. But it isn't like he is like a 4 first-round pick level guy. But if someone offers you something like that, then you have to think about it. And if it's Adam Fox in the 5th overall pick, then yeah, you do that. You know, you do that trade if you're Toronto. All the uncles in I got to start remembering more small Ontario towns. Like, all the uncles that live on Manitoulin Island are gonna hate that the Leafs and John Chayka went out and got Emile Andre and Adam Fox, 2 defensemen that are 5'10" or whatever. They're gonna be like, it's Dubas all over again. We're gonna suck, even though, you know, Kyle Dubas brought them back to the playoffs after the longest drought in their team's history, or at least his strategy put them in that direction. Yeah, Pembroke. There you go. The uncles in Pembroke are gonna go nuts. Yeah, the Lumber Kings. Yeah, that's what they call the uncles out there, the Lumber Kings. Yeah. All those guys are gonna love it if Adam Fox were traded for Matthew Knies. They're gonna go, oh, we're gonna get pushed around in the playoffs. Playoffs. That's a throwback. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? Playoffs. A couple days before the 2024 draft, San Jose and Buffalo swapped, so they have a history. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they sometimes trade picks before the draft, and it's an interesting strategy. I've sort of narrowed down the possibilities for the Canes after they trade down to the early, mid, and second. Yeah, I love that you're assuming they're trading down. Because that's just a safe assumption. It seems like that's what they want to do. Preston, Nordmark, Aram Olsen, Villeneuve, Gollier, Klepov. I mean, I would say that like I don't think it'll be Preston. I don't think so. It would be fun if it was. And it would just be awesome. If anyone's going to make him work, it would probably be Carolina. I don't know about Nordmark. I feel if Nordmark were a 3rd round pick, then they would do it. Like Rubrek in the 4th round or something like that. Aram Olsen is an interesting one. Something like that could make sense, yeah. Maybe they just punt it with Piperinen or something. Just a guy who can go out and play. That would be okay. I don't know. It's going to be exciting. Curious, using your 5 categories for evaluation, what's your take on EPs and other categories? Imagine the definition of the categories is of the utmost importance and the variance against consensus. I'm not sure what you mean. I see. Okay. I mean, I get it. Their method is also a different way of doing it. Mine makes sense to me. It's intuitive to me, especially if you watch a lot of hockey. I find it very, very difficult to boil it down to one number. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find it very difficult to boil things down to that number and just be like, this guy's a 7, this guy's a 5, this guy's a 6. Do you know what I mean? And for me, it's like, well, like sometimes there's stuff that's really good and sometimes there's just not, right? Like Gavin McKenna, is he a 10 out of 10 passer? Sometimes. So if I put him at a 10 out of 10, I mean, he's not perfect, but if I put him at a 7, he's going to be equal to other guys. But it's like, is there an argument that he's less effective than he's presented as? Kind of. So it's like trying to get that point across. I find it really difficult boiling it down to a number. But I mean, like, it's a legitimate thing. Like, I'm not saying it's dumb. It just, like, to me, doesn't make as much intuitive sense as like broadening the scope a little bit and just going like, it's a little more nebulous than that, because that's the sport we work in. It's not so simple. You know what I mean? And I mean, someone was mentioning, I forget what it was. I think it was in the Discord server. We were talking about next year, and I can't remember what it was, but breaking it up into a little bit more groups and doing the number thing because people are getting confused. And that may be a thing that we think about next year, but I'll have to take some time to think about it in the summer and like wrap my head around it, because I'm just not sure how it would, like, because it has to make intuitive sense to me, right? Like, if I'm making a read on a guy, it has to be like, okay, I feel pretty confident encapsulating this area of the game as this. Like, the categories I use, I think, are great because it encapsulates how I think about the game, basically in order, right? Like, it's the priority levels for me. Like, what's their overall approach? How do they read the game? What is the consistency of their overall approach to the game? You know, who are they, right? How do they get around the ice is also important, and how what their skill level is and all that stuff. What if they don't have the puck? How do they get it back? What if they, do they have fundamentals that then they apply defensively as well, right? So it kind of cascades in a good way for me. And I mean, it just, the whole point of my whole ranking philosophy here is like thinking about like boiling the game down as most I can. Do you know what I mean? Like down to its most fundamental starting points and like getting into detail about that in a way. Don't have to answer now. Any goalies in the later rounds you think are worth a swing? Yeah, I think guys like Ryder Federer will be available late. I'd go after him. Roberto Henriquez, I feel like he'll be available late. I'd go after him. Maybe teams forget that Yegor Rybkin is around. Like, he spent a lot of time injured this year, so maybe he's there late. I doubt it, but maybe. Especially because he's big. Vladimir Proskorin, maybe. The goalie in Russia. Matvei Karbonov, he's another goalie that I've liked in Russia. Juuso Ainasto, if he's available, Finnish guy. Pirjo Lami, if you like smaller goalies, he could be an interesting one. There's some good ones. The goalies this year are actually kind of good, I think. I know you're high on Preston and Villeneuve, but I think all these choices match the high ceiling will foretend the Canes. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the Canes draft guys where they will forego safety and they'll go, if this guy has a 2% chance of being a superstar, we're taking that kid. So that makes me think Preston, they took Ryabkin last year, right? So, like, if you know anything about Ryabkin last year, the Carolina Hurricanes set aside a lot. Who's a high ceiling, high skill player you have in the very early second round? Around that part of the draft seems to have more low ceiling, high floor. For me in that range, I would put like Sharenko, Klepov, more because of the uncertainty. Lagerberg Hohen is in there. Yeah, Lascelles in the queue is good too. I feel like he won't be available late. I think someone will pick him earlier. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe NHL teams will go, why would we draft a goalie who's deaf? Which I don't agree with, to be clear. But like maybe that's a level of thinking for a bunch of teams, and they go, okay, it's the 6th round, maybe we'll do it then. And he's also 6 feet tall, so he's terrible. But anyway, I'm joking, by the way. I like Lascelles. He's quite a good goalie. Yeah, Shrenko, Klepov, Aram Olsen, Nordmark, Hurlbert. There's a lot of them. That's kind of the range where a lot of these guys are for me. Van Hanen, something like that. Or Mathis Preston. Preston and Villeneuve might be second round picks, and if that's the case, that's the easy answer. For second overall, the Sharks would go younger and try to get a Nemec so their window's longer. With Parayko, you'd only get 2 years tops until he's toast. I mean, I guess, but I'm not... again, like, if you want second overall, or if you want Simone Nemec, I don't think you have to trade second overall for him. Why would you do that? You have all... If the Devils have no leverage with him. Think, like, again, like, they don't have leverage. They don't have the... like... They got nothing. Like, Nemec has had zero track record of success in the NHL. He's clearly unhappy. So, like, the Devils are kind of like, they got a hand tied behind their back. So I don't think you have to part with second overall. Like, could you swap a Philip Bjugstad for him? Could you swap a Quentin Musty and a third round pick? Like, that's the type of deal that I would be trying to make with them, because I'm like, and also, like, clearly teams aren't burning the phone lines trying to get Nemec, or else he probably would have been traded by now. So, like, again, like, I don't understand this, like, we can trade the second overall pick and get X. It's like, well, you don't have to. Like, that's, to me, like, that's the break in case of emergency box, right? Like, that's like if Joe Sakic forgot to take his meds in the morning and was like, hey, we're going to trade Cale Makar today. Then I would be like, second overall plus. Yep. Joe, how you doing today? Yeah. Let's do this. Let's see. Yeah. 27 for Nemec, maybe, but maybe. Again, though, like, if I'm a general manager, like, I'm using the Devils' lack of leverage against him. I'm going like, I mean, Sonny Meta coming in, I'm sure he will do the due diligence on Nemec and know what they have in him, and know, kind of like, I think how Eric Tulsky, for example, would have, like, I like Scott Morrow as much as the next guy, but I'm sure him doing the due diligence on his game as it is and looking at Keandre Miller. Like, I love Scott Morrow, but Keandre Miller is a rock-solid defenseman. And if you have a high-ceiling, low-floor offensive defenseman like Morrow, but a good floor defenseman that's physical and mobile and rangy like Miller, I would have negotiated that deal as much as I like Morrow. So for Sonny Meta, like, I'm sure he's maybe looking at Nemec and going, it's maybe there's a team that still really covets him, or maybe he can look at him and go, no, we should keep this guy. I can patch things over and figure it out. But I if I'm on the other end, I go, even if I think Nemec is good, I'm going to go, well, you want this, but I could just go somewhere else and offer the same thing and get someone on paper better than Nemec. You know what I mean? 27, maybe, I guess. But I would have to wait and see until the draft at who's there at 27. Because I think there are guys that are... I mean, one outlet just had Tynan Lawrence as a second-round pick. Like, I have way more faith in Tynan Lawrence than I did in Nemec at this age. And Nemec, I think all of the issues in his game are still there, and they're getting exposed a lot more now, and he's clearly unhappy about it. Like, he's clearly not happy there. At least it doesn't seem like he is. I don't know. How's McKenna defensively? Sportsnet 590 said, and I quote, "When I watch McKenna, I don't have any problem with defensive awareness. I found he was very aware defensively." Okay, so look, it depends on what you mean by defense. I think McKenna's forechecking got a lot better as the year went on. His ability to read where the game was going off the puck was way better at the end of the year than it was at the beginning. Like, that's a big reason why I feel more confident about him where I have him in the top 2 somewhere. Like, he was at number 5 last year at the beginning of the year because I had my reasons and they were very obvious, but key areas of that got better. And McKenna, I think, like, if you're looking for a guy who's going to throw a hit along the boards in the neutral zone, it's not him, at least not as he is now. If you're looking for a guy who will be hard on a puck carrier, stick check, cause a turnover, strip the puck off a guy, turn around, come the other way, more often than not, that's not what you're getting. So, like, if that's what you're looking for as a defensive player, I mean, he'll be involved, he will be there, but the results right now are not there. And that's true through the end of the year. But I put it defending in the offensive zone. Like, the first line of defense or your wingers style of defending, he's getting pretty good at that. Like, reading where the puck is going along the boards, knowing where everybody is, knowing where defensemen are thinking about putting the puck. Like, he can do that. And that, to me, is defensive awareness. Like, it is better than it was. But I still feel like when you watch him play, like, this is why I don't really like the zoom out. He is good at X, and it's this big nebulous term, like defending. He's a good defender, because it's like, well, in what sense? Because, like, there's a lot of different ways you can defend in hockey. And I think there are areas where he's gotten a lot better, and there are other areas where I just don't think that it's going to be who he is. You know, like, are you looking for Artemi Panarin to be the most physical guy in the world? Like, no. Why would you want that? So, not necessarily wrong. I don't think it's completely off base at all. But again, like, the uncles in Pembroke are gonna be watching every minute that he plays, and I'm sure they're gonna find reasons to throw their beer at the screen and call him a bum by January, maybe. Rightly or wrongly, just to be clear, rightly or wrongly, I am giving Leaf fans less than no credit when it comes to watching hockey. Leaf fans do nothing better than looking at the wrong things in a sport and freaking out for no reason at all. They're really good at that. And then their team becomes bad, and they're like, "Wow, how did that happen?" Well, they fixed the problems you thought were there, son. Does the Andre Gazeau trade project to be anything? I like Gazeau. I don't know if he's an NHL player, but, you know, like, to me, he kind of gives me similar vibes to Philip Bjugstad, where it's like, he's big, he's got a bit of range, he's physical, he's good up and down the ice. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to be an NHLer, but, like, he's big and heavy and strong and physical, so maybe there's something that works there. He's a nice ad. I mean, it's a body to have. You didn't trade basically anything. He's probably got one more year in college and you can bring him in. Like it accelerates the pipeline on a guy they probably would draft a very similar copy of in the same range, right? Like you just accelerated a guy that you're thinking about drafting in the future. So I could see it. But I'm not certain about him being an NHL player at all. Thoughts on Emil Andre? Yeah, I mean, from what I remember last year, I mean, if you think he's small and not physical, you're wrong. Like, what I remember when he was a kid was he was 5'8" or 5'9", and I'm like, I mean, he's fun to watch. He is a physical kid. He tries to crush guys. And who in the NHL at 5'9" does it, right? But it seems to have translated into a pretty decent defensive player who moves pretty well, moves the puck pretty well, has a bit of offense to him. You know, like I think he's just going to be efficient. Like I don't expect huge things out of him in Toronto, but I mean, I think it's pretty telling that Danny Briere in the press conference were like, we just need to get bigger. Like it was just not enough size on our defense group. And to me, that's like the kiss of death. I just kind of go, oh, well, okay, then that means you didn't understand what he was, because I've seen him play a lot and I don't really care how small he is. He's pretty good. And yeah, he's a feisty kid and I think he's going to be good. I mean, for Toronto, that trade kind of made sense in a lot of ways. Like a lot of people crapped all over it immediately, like they always do. But it was so unanimous so fast that I was like, maybe this is actually a pretty good trade for Toronto. I mean, I think Philadelphia got what they need. They have a backup goalie now, or at least a 1A or a 1B to play with Vladar. Like, I don't think you extend Vladar to a contract like that, then add Wall to bench Vladar, right? Like, I don't think that's what you do. But those two guys together are a good pair. Toronto has good young goaltenders as well in Hildeby, Akhtiamov. They both had really good years. They might win the Calder Cup. I mean, you never know. Like Brandon Bussey was a waiver claim and they won the Stanley Cup. Like you can find a goalie if you need one. It's a gamble, but you can find one. The Toronto Maple Leafs needed good defensemen, I think, more than they needed a good backup goaltender, assuming Stolarz was healthy. Right? And I don't think you trade Wall if Stolarz is unhealthy. So, logically speaking, it makes sense. Like, Simone Benoit was not cutting it as a playoff level NHL defenseman, I don't think. And Emil Andre, I think, is a guy with a lot of runway. Like, he's 3 years younger than Joseph Woll. Where could he be in 2, right? With good usage. And I feel like you don't go out and do that trade unless you like Andre and you are confident in your goaltending, I don't think. But it's an interesting deal. And it's another pick in the draft, so yay. Yeah, like a bottom 2 pair guy, maybe third pair, sure, who's physical and feisty and whatever, like bit of offense to him as well. Yeah, that's fine. Which prospect has the biggest mismatch between their data and what you've seen? Dax and Rudolph, easily. Yep, 100% Dax and Rudolph. I don't understand how it's where it is, but he's very good. Wouldn't not in their wheelhouse be good since in their wheelhouse is total ass? I mean, you would think so, but again, like, hockey people are stubborn, man. It isn't very common for a hockey person to completely shift the way they see the sport. You know, like if that were the case, then all of a sudden the Rangers would be like, we're never playing, like Will Cooley is a third liner, and we're never playing Matthew Rempe again, and Alexei Lafreniere needs to lose 20 pounds and become the fastest guy alive. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't really understand. Like, if you are changing your ways to be more in your wheelhouse because your butt, trading Adam Fox doesn't do that for you at all, I don't think. Who would you want from Montreal in exchange for Nyes? Dude, you just know. It doesn't matter. You just know that if Toronto trades Matthew Nyes to the Montreal Canadiens, he's going to win the Hart Trophy. I don't know how. I don't know when. But you just know that if the Toronto Maple Leafs traded a 23-year-old power winger coming off a bad season where the team was bad and embarrassing and sad, that they're going to trade him to Montreal. He's going to score 90 points. He's going to bang in 30 goals with Cole Caulfield or something. And they're going to win the Stanley Cup with Matthew Knies. And Matthew Knies is going to hold the Stanley Cup over his head, and Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan will lose their minds on the radio. It doesn't matter. You're just not, I don't think that's a trade you make. Even if you any reasonable package, it doesn't matter. The Montreal Canadiens would win the Stanley Cup immediately. That's just how it's going to happen. There's no other way. Have you watched DP's breakdown of Dax and Rudolph? The title of the video is The NHL's Next Great Offensive Defenseman. I did. At least most of it. I think if you listen to what David was saying in that video, a lot of it is quite critical and accurately so. But I think people are extremely charitable to him. Not David. I mean, I think people are extremely charitable to Dax and Rudolph. Like, again, it's like if that guy, the way he plays, and even the way people talk about him, like if you read Hockey Prospects Black Book, every single line they write about him is about how disappointing he is as a player and how inactive and disengaged. And it's like, you're hoping he's Evan Bouchard to these NHL guys. And and then it's like, you have him top 10. But like every report is like, I've never hated a player so much in my life. I've never seen a player more disengaged at this age in my life and come away with 3 points. If the game were played entirely at the offensive blue line, he would be a top 10 pick. And I'm going, yeah, exactly. Like that's the exact read I have. So what is he doing in your top 10? You know, it's like maybe it works, right? Like if the right coach gets in his ear and yada, yada, yada. But like, it's a matter of risk tolerance. Like it's a matter of risk tolerance. It's like, I don't see evidence of him. Like, who are the players in the last 7 drafts that play like him that have worked out? If you say Evan Bouchard, it would be mighty nice to see Evan Bouchard play on a team that didn't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl pasted to him for 30 minutes a night. Like, what does Evan Bouchard on the New York Rangers look like? Because I feel like it would be very different. I like Bouchard, but like that is I think an optimistic read. And if that's the case, if that's what Bouchard, I don't remember Bouchard looking like that when he was 17. I didn't see a ton back then, but I don't remember that. But I just don't see it. Like, and the thing that baffles me is the hypocrisy. Like, that's the thing. Like, and again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm hoping like a Dax Rudolph fails in his career or anything. But I'm saying from the perspective of a scout, it is the hypocrisy behind judging guys for their effort and their defensive zone play, especially defensemen. Like, they get looked at with such a tough lens sometimes, right? And then a guy comes along where the reports are he's sleepy, he's inactive. I've never seen someone so disengaged. He defends with his knees locked in the upright position like an airplane tray table. I don't know how this will work. But then they go, oh, we'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. He'll be a top 10 pick and it'll be worth it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, maybe that's true. All right, I'll grant you the possibility that could work. But then what about all these other guys that have come and gone and you've hand waved them away for whatever reason? You know, like I look at a Ludwig Soderberg, who's on my list, also a very talented skater, very offensive leaning defenseman, doesn't get the same attention, big problems in the defensive zone, right? Like big problems. But I look at him and I go, at least he's like moving around and engaged and like getting to loose pucks first and not wasting time. Like Rudolph, I think is a very effective offensive WHL defenseman. And I just don't like, I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, I don't know Evan Bouchard, but like Jake Bean? And like that I could kind of get behind. Like, maybe you get a Jake Bean out of him where he's a first round pick and he can produce, and like if you put him in the right spot, yada yada yada, it could work. But over a long period of time, unless things really change and improve, you kind of are sitting there going like, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know if it's worth it. Again, like maybe things can really change. I don't know. But I mean, David, I think very accurately highlighted the question marks in his game that are there. I just come down on the side of like, it's just not my thing. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there making a lot of money on SpaceX right now. I haven't touched it. I'm gonna sit this one out. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm a pass. Do you know what I mean? And if it works for you, good for you. Proud of you, right? Silly me. But I don't know. It's very strange. I don't even know what the Rangers are trying to do, so I'm assuming Drury's just trying to keep from getting fleeced. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, Andre is a good ad. I think it's an upgrade. Emil upgrade. He's an upgrade, right? It's just not. Yeah. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, I don't know. Unless Stolarz gets hurt, and I don't know. But I would rather have Emil Andre around than three of the guys that played defense for Toronto night in, night out. The uncles do demand 6 FNUFs, though. You're right. How goes the day? Is Mathis Preston your guy this year, kind of like how Stiga was or Sverchek? I mean, yes, I would say so. I mean, on that level of like, I really like these guys relative to everybody, that would be Carroll's or Svensson Sorensen. Those guys are extremely high on my list. Victor Plant, too. Those guys are very high on my list relative to the rest of the world. Even Casey Mutrin is pretty high, but the ones that I think people go, what are you thinking, are Svensson Sorensen, where they are on the list that comes out next week, by the way. If you're a subscriber, it's out now. Because those guys are high on my board, and I really, really like them. But, I mean, yeah, relative to the marketplace, Preston and Villeneuve, but like, Preston and Villeneuve are for late first-round picks to a lot of people, and Stiga to a lot of people was a late first-round pick too. Sverchek was maybe a second-rounder to people, and that's fine. And he did not have a very good year. I have more faith in Preston and Villeneuve than all of those guys, though. As much as I love Stiga, he's in there too. But, yeah, Svensson Sorensen are the two guys that I think are the guys. Is Bryce Pickford elite? He won CHL Defenseman of the Year. I don't see it with him. I don't see it. I watched a lot of the series they got eliminated in against Prince Albert, and I think Prince Albert exploited the gaps in a team like Medicine Hat extremely well. I just think the Medicine Hat Tigers had no answer for the physicality and the energy and the speed that the Raiders, the Prince Albert Raiders, gave them. Like, they pressured them into making decisions quicker than they wanted to. They couldn't use their skill to adapt quick enough. The Raiders kept it super simple and straightforward, just got their chances, made them count, and won. And with Medicine Hat, like, I mean, I look at Pickford, and every time I've seen them play this year, I go, he gets to touch the puck all of the time and shoot the puck all of the time. He's very good at shooting the puck. But with the way he skates and his tendencies and how he defends, he's very aggressive offensively. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like the rumored deal of Zhuravsky, Pickford, and a couple of picks for Matthew Nyes, like, to me, that's like, take all these guys that people are hyping up off of our hands, and we want a top 6 power forward in the NHL. Like, that sounds like Kent Hughes being like, the perceived value of these guys is at its highest today. So if we can get Matthew Nyes out of Toronto, we're doing that. Like, I just genuinely don't think that Kent Hughes would see it as, like, you know, like, I see it as similar to how Bill Guerin, I think, thought about the Quinn Hughes trade. He took all of the guys that Judd Brackett likes. He took all the skilled, undersized guys that Judd Brackett added over the years and said, I don't care about any of these guys, but people seem to like them. So I'm going to package them together and ship them to Vancouver for Quinn Hughes, you know? Which, I mean, you get Quinn Hughes out of it, of course. Quinn Hughes is a better player than Nyes, I would say. But I think Kent Hughes was trying to pull a fast one on Brad Treliving a little bit there. Too bad they took too long, and it was slow. I was spitballing, but the Rangers did say they were interested in Nyes. To me, they'd have to add a high pick to do it. Well, sure, yeah. I mean, if look, Toronto's not just going to trade Matthew Nyes. He's a 23-year-old power winger who's coming off a down season. He was much better the year before. You would be trading him arguably at low value. Like, you're taking a risk that he becomes a top 6 power winger in the NHL, like an Alex Tuck, that you go, why would we not want that guy on our team? Like, I just don't see, so unless it's like you make a deal where you go, holy smokes, this is too much for us to say no to, then you don't do it. Why did Piparinen fall or struggle? I mean, I think with Piparinen, like, it's just the profile's very basic. Like, there's just not much to him. And I found that his play once he got loaned away from the men's league was not awesome. Like, I saw a couple of games of him in the second division in Finland where it almost was like he was completely disinterested in trying at that level. Like, he's just a very weird player in a way. Who was the guy last year that was like that, where every level of... Oh, no. It was Herman Truff a few years ago. And it's like Herman Truff had very different versions of himself at every level of play, but Piparinen was just at the junior level. You watched him play and he wanted to play like Quinn Hughes, and you're like, I see how you could do that at this level, but I don't know if this is how you actually are playing the game normally. And like, if I'm a coach, I don't know if this is what I want you doing. And then he went to Liga, and I went, this is what I want you doing. Like, very smart, responsible, simple, effective, accurate player. Nothing wrong about him. Physical, good on sort of getting to pucks and turning it around and all that stuff you need defensemen to be good at. Pretty good player. But on the other hand, then he went to Mestis, and it was like, okay, he was clunky and slow and overconfident and losing control of the puck all the time. It was like he was hungover or something. And maybe he was, I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. So it wasn't necessarily that I started to dislike him as a player. Like, I think where is he? Yeah, like, he's at the tail end of my first round still. And I think that you get a serviceable defensive player out of him. You know, he's young, big, has pro experience. Like, there's a lot of nice things about him. If it was in the 20s, you could easily convince me to take him. I wouldn't complain. Is Lafreniere that much different than Nyes? Aren't they both second-line power forwards? I think they're quite different. I mean, Lafreniere, I think the Rangers tried to turn Lafreniere into a power forward, and he's now this weird Frankenstein's monster. Nyes is just an animal. But, I mean, yeah, like, in terms of role, I guess they're kind of similar. Who should the Pens go for at 22? The Penguins are going to draft like Jack Ekstall at 22, or Ryan Lynn, or some other dork. They're going to draft Rudolph Burzkalns at 22. I don't know. That would be hilarious. They did draft off Muskegon last year. They drafted Carter Sanderson, and that's always an interesting thread to pull on, looking at who the teams have drafted from before, because they will know the coaches. They will know these people. They will do the legwork on them first. So I'm sure I'm sure that if Muskegon's coach was like, this Burzkalns guy is great, and they watch him play and how he plays and the size and the puck protection, like, the Toronto Maple Leafs said that they had Fraser Minton at 15 or in their top 15. That would not shock me if they had a guy like Burzkalns in their first round. I will say that, but I get the feeling a guy like Hextall or Blyle could be a guy there that they like. Suvanto, if he's still there. Something like that. Of right shot defensemen in this class, who do you think would complement Sam Dickinson the best? Michael Kesselring. That's a stupid answer, but too bad. Complimenting Dickinson. Breck Liskey. Piparinen, Liskey. If you can get him late, maybe Luke Scherer on your bottom pair, but that's a little bit of a stretch. Because Gustafson's a lefty. I don't know if Verhoff would be a guy I'd match with Dickinson. So I'd probably say like Gollier or Piparinen or Liskey. But I don't draft any of those guys to try to find a partner for Dickinson right away. Like I don't think the draft is an avenue to find a guy to do that. I think that they do the Kesselring thing. You find a person who you think is going to work that you can plop in right away, because the Sharks shouldn't be a lottery team again. Like, the goal is the playoffs, I think, for them. And so find a guy that can play. But those guys, I think, would be good ads. I always looked at Eklund for Nemec straight up if you draft Stenberg at 2. But you're taking Stenberg away from Eklund, right? Like, I think Stenberg and Eklund work well together. Like, I don't really... And, like, Nemec, again, like, I don't think you have to pay Eklund to get Nemec. Like, the perceived value is so low. Like, Eklund has had multiple successful seasons in the NHL. Nemec has not. Nemec has just not. And, like, why would you trade... Like, I would... like, look at what David Jiricek got. Like, David Jiricek was swapped for what? Like, Bobby Brink, was it? Which, Bobby Brink is a good player, but like a third liner, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. The perceived value on Nemec is so low. I would probably be like, I'm not, and if I'm San Jose, I don't want to reduce from my team. I'd much rather have like 3 extremely deep scoring lines. You know, that sounds pretty good, than taking a flyer on an offensive right-hand shot defenseman who has 0 track record, and when he does play in the NHL, bleeds chances against. That just doesn't sound like a smart move to me. And I feel like they have enough in the tank that hasn't played in the NHL either that might entice San Jose instead, or New Jersey instead, right? Like, you have Cagnoni, you have Musty, you have Beasted, you have is Thomas Bordeleau still floating around there? I mean, he's like 25 now, isn't he? 24. Yeah, like, you have stuff that I think you don't have to remove from your team. Right, he's in San Jose or St. Louis now. I just don't think you have to go that hard and go, let's take a top 6 winger and trade him to New Jersey for a guy who hasn't been able to stick in the NHL yet. Lawrence as a 2nd round pick. Don't tell me stuff that'll lick our chops more. I mean, dude, one outlet had him in the 2nd round, and they had quotes from NHL scouts, and I am now quite convinced that the NHL just does not like him as a person. I think that the NHL thinks he's an idiot for leaving the USHL. Like, I don't understand it. But the quotes that I've read from scouts directly about Lawrence, maybe it's a selection of a certain type of scout, but like, apparently he was absolutely torched in the interview rooms at the Combine. Caleb Malhotra got to shoot hockey pucks into a garbage can. Tynan Lawrence got called a moron for going to college. You know? Like, I get the feeling that teams are looking at him and going, you're maybe, like, in that same report, the same outlet that had him in the 2nd round, they're like, maybe he's a 3rd line winger. And I'm going like, oh my God. Like, what? Okay, oh my God. Like, okay, you know? Yeah, Lawrence at 22 to the Penguins would also make sense if he were there. Dude, I just all it takes is for a team to have him at number 2 at the slot, right? That's all it takes is for a team to go, we have one more guy ahead of him. Yeah, we interviewed Tynan Lawrence. He is exactly the type of person that I want on my team. Like, he plays, like, the one thing I don't like is when I see players talk about their game and, in my opinion, not really encapsulate it very well. Like, someone mentioned in the comments, Daxon Rudolph comparing him to Charlie McAvoy. And I'm just like, you watch those two guys back to back, I don't see the connection. But Tynan Lawrence, you hear him talk about how he plays. Mathis Preston's the same way. Xavier Villeneuve's the same way. Like, they know exactly who they are. And they're like, this is who I am. I'm going to be this, you know? And in Lawrence's case, he's like, I'm a guy who wants to make the team better. 200 feet, you know, do a really good job just being a responsible team member. And doing a really, really good all-around teamwork job. That's my job. 200 foot, both sides of the puck, be a workhorse, help my teammates, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, that's exactly how he plays hockey now, at least, after this season. And it's like, how do you not want that? Why do you not want that at all? I don't understand it. I think teams saw him and looked at him going to college, and instead of seeing it as a challenge, they see it as a mistake. As like, oh, you think you're so good, look at you now. You got humbled now, young fella. You know? That's the only explanation I can think of that makes any sense. You know, that's the only explanation that makes sense. Like, it makes me think I'm taking crazy pills. I mean, you could argue that I am taking crazy pills twice a day. You could argue that, but we don't need to go that way. How would there be a right reason to call McKenna a bum? You're telling me that if McKenna watches Connor McDavid blow by him and tries to lift his stick from 7 feet away and then glides into the defensive zone, you're telling me that Roger from Pembroke is not going to watch the TV and go, that kid sucks? Again, I'm not saying that it would be right or wrong, but watching Gavin McKenna turn away from contact along the boards in the defensive zone, trying to jump into the neutral zone ahead of the breakout, you know, someone's going to notice that, right? Like, I remember Jeff O'Neill at the World Juniors ripping Gavin McKenna for some of the stuff he was doing there. Like, people are going to watch everything he does in Toronto. Everything. And I bet that for a certain type of Leaf fan that may or may not live in Pembroke or Port Perry or Wyerton or Timmins or Sudbury or Hamilton or whatever, are probably going to see a thing and go, huh. The nerd GM took this kid first overall. I am upset. And then huck a beer at the screen. My question is if it would be right to call him a bum. Probably not. No. McKenna is going to be a player where you're going to have to zoom out probably and go like Panarin, right? Like, is Panarin capable, like Connor McDavid, of dragging his team to the Stanley Cup final? No, I don't think so. Is Gavin McKenna the type of guy who will score 100 points at one point maybe and be an absolutely ruthless power play player, and you just live with maybe some moments where you're like, that's just Gavin McKenna? Sure, yeah, like, sure. If that's what you think is a bum, then that's what a bum is. But, and I'm saying, like, some people might focus entirely on the negatives, right? Like, look at how often William Nylander took crap from everybody for like a decade, and he was the hardest working guy out of all of them, right? People will see what they want to see. How watered down is the KHL? Quite, I would say. Honestly, your observations on Leaf fans is why Eric Tulski has a huge PR advantage working in a southern market. He did his thing for 8 years before a championship fruit. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, credit to Tom Dundon as well. He's stuck with this. He's stuck with it for years and years. He's had every excuse to march down to the GM's office after sweep after sweep after sweep in the conference final going, blow it up. This isn't working. We need to be big, tough, be like the Vegas Golden Knights, you know? And he didn't. Like, the sign of a smart person is being able to trust people that they think are smarter than them. Maybe you get burned once in a while, but he has to look at an Eric Tulski and go, it's not my job to build the hockey team. And I trust what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, you know? And clearly he was right. Belchets or Pugachev? I go Belchets. Pugachev is, I would say, I'd show Belchets some video of Pugachev and maybe be like, hey, here's a guy that you might want to be more like off the puck. But in terms of actually playing hockey and like being a higher end player, I would say Belchets. But Pugachev is entertaining. Like, if you like your Keegan Kolazars, if you like your I don't know, Matt Martins, you know, Pugachev could be fun. Hiller hiring thoughts. Well, look, I'll say this. It's the same thing as when they hired John Chayka, right? You don't interview like 80 people and come down on John Chayka unless you're absolutely positive. In Toronto especially. And so you don't interview 60 coaches and go after and come down on a guy who's already been to Toronto after all of that. You don't do that unless you have good reason, I don't think. And it's a strange decision at first glance, but it does make sense that a guy like Austin Matthews, who played his best hockey under a guy like Hiller as an assistant coach, maybe Austin Matthews and William Nylander and Morgan Riley, all those guys, at the time maybe Joseph Woll, went to John Chayka, and maybe if John Chayka's smart, he probably went to them. I'd be shocked if he didn't and was like, hey, who would you like us to interview? Is there anybody that you've experienced that you might want to take a look at? Like, cast a wide net, why not? And if they all were like, hey, we really like that Jim Hiller guy, I'd be like, okay, I'll take a look. And if he's the guy that rose to the top, okay, you see how it goes. I think getting all cut up about a coaching decision is meaningless. You don't know, right? There are some coaches where you definitely can know, right? There are some, like, you know, it's like, okay, I probably wouldn't go that way. But Jim Hiller, like, a lot of people were pointing at LA and being a low event team and all that. But I think yesterday he said something really interesting, and it ties in with what I've been told about LA while he was coach there. But like, he said that like that was the system that they played was the system that was required by the guys on the team. Not them telling him, but I mean, like, when he looked at the team and how they played and all that stuff, his conclusion was we needed to play X, and the results were positive. He was right. Sorry, I'm having a bad hair day today. Literally woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Oh God. But whatever. I'm just going to cut it off. But yeah, I mean, I think with Hiller, it makes sense, right? Like, I think with him, it's he at least explains it accurately. And if he was the numbers guy when Babcock was the coach, like, I think a good coach needs to be able to understand the metrics behind their team to make good decisions. And if that's what Jim Hiller's job was as a coach in Toronto when he was here, then yeah, like, good. Like, it can't get much worse for Toronto from where they were at the end of the season. So you gotta try something outside the box. And while Jim Hiller has already been here, whatever, I think he's the type of guy that is the kind of coach that I would probably want to be, where it's like, who are the players that I have in front of me and what can I do that makes them work? I'm not such a top-down smartass that I can be like, I have my system and this is how we're going to play. Like, I don't think you should do it that way. You could, but I don't think I would. I wouldn't be able to do it. So for Hiller, it seems like he's the type of guy who will just come in, see what he's got, look at the team, and go, okay, I can do this, And if it works, it works, right? If it works, it works. He was talking a lot about getting them to be fast, getting them to be up and down the ice quick, and that's what they needed. That's what they needed really bad. The only reason I find the Andre trade weird is because he's feisty, moving puck-moving D on the third pair. We have OEL on the third pair, and neither are second pair guys. I mean, I feel like OEL is going to play top 4. Like, he was really good last year. I think that you don't need you can have more than one feisty puck mover. Are they good at hockey? Yes. Okay, then play them. You know what I mean? Do you actually think Lafreniere needs to lose pounds? I mean, based on what I've seen of him playing in the Rangers, he doesn't look like a guy who is going to find high-end offensive success unless he lightens up a bit and gets up and down the ice quicker. Like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen as much of the Rangers as I want, or maybe he's just, like, tired of it in New York. But they turned him into, like, a power winger. They turned him into a bit of like a pressure absorber guy. Yeah, like he's 200 pounds. Like that's, I guess, fine. But I guess what I'm saying is like, he's just not very light on his feet when I see them play, which if you're going to be a high production offensive winger, that's just not going to do it in these days, unless you're just really strong on your feet and really physical, which I've never seen Lafreniere be that type of guy. Lewis Hamilton, big win, big dub. I think the way people talk about Rudolph versus Villeneuve is so telling. Yeah, fair enough. Is Rudolph basically Merkley without the attitude issues? No, because Merkley had like elite tools. Like Merkley had unbelievable tools. It's just he was so frustrating. Like I was talking to someone about him who was actually affiliated with them when they had him, and in Guelph, and they were just like it was just like there was a frustration with him where it was like he didn't back up what he got frustrated about. Like he was this, it was very much like an entitlement thing and expecting things out of other people that he didn't do himself, which to coaches and stuff, that just pisses you off, right? Like if you have someone who's like show up to practice on time, like if someone shows up to practice late and they're like, you're late as a teammate, I'm holding you accountable, yada, 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 be early next time. And then they show up late 6 times in a row. Not saying that's what happened, but like, if that's the type of thing that happens as a coach, you're like, well, that is really frustrating. Like if you're going to do something like that, please, walk the walk if you want to take on that kind of a thing. I don't think there's any, I don't know. But the tools were great. With Rudolph, I just have no idea. I don't know. Did you watch the OHL draft? I watched the first round. I have no idea. We got to have Jordan on at some point talking about it, but it's been really, really busy. But yeah, I watched the first round. I mean, my guy from that draft is Arjun Nanabai. He rules, but clearly not enough. Opinion on Ryder Cali. Interesting player. Very young, pretty raw, big center who can move the puck pretty well, though, go to the net. He's pretty straightforward. Like, I like Cali. If he goes in the first round, sure, I get it. He's in my early second, I think. I like him. Like, I think he's one of those guys where it's like there's going to be 20 guys in that range kind of that have a similar potential role, whether they're forwards or defense, kind of doing stuff. Some are going to work, some are not. And I think he's an interesting bet. Are you worried about Stolarz going down? I was thinking last week about how I wouldn't mind if we traded him in Wool and just ran with the beast in King Arthur. Well, I mean, again, like you don't trade Joseph Wool with Anthony Stolarz unless he's healthy, right? Unless you're pretty confident that he can be healthy. Because otherwise you're going into camp being like, well, if it ends up Aksyamov and Hildeby, we're going to be fine. Like, I don't know. I get the feeling that is they must have Stolarz in a positive spot. I think that's the explanation that makes sense to me. Um, Given the Wang pick last year, do the Sharks target Sokolovsky at 27? Brother, I think he's gone by then. I mean, maybe, but I think he's gone. I always account for the right-hand defense premium when trading a winger. That's why I pointed out Eklund for Nemec. Right, but again, like you're offering something to Sonny Meta that sounds awfully good for what Nemec has shown, right? I'm talking about leverage. Like, sure, but like if you're Mike Greer, would you take a player out of your top 6? Realistically, like would you go to Sonny Meta and be like, I am offering you a top 6 scoring winger for a guy who couldn't crack your lineup and can't defend at the NHL level yet? Like if I'm Sonny Meta, I'm going, okay, deal, done. Right? Like, yeah, you get a right-hand defenseman, but like you just handed a top 6 winger over for a risk, right? Like I'm coming at it from the leverage angle of like, he doesn't have cards. Like, I don't think Sonny Meta has the cards in his hand, even though he's a right-hand shot defenseman. Like, look at what Michael Kesselring just cost. 7 spots in the draft. Obvious, and like Kesselring has a track record in the NHL. He's older than Nemec, but like he has a track record and is like a passable player. So to me, I go, that's the kind of deal you need to make. Is just like something where it's like a little tweak around the edge and you get something useful today. So yeah. My guess with Buffalo is that they didn't know what to do with him contractually, so they thought it best just to move on. Sure, yeah, that's possible too. In regards to the partner for Dickinson question, never draft a person to try and pair with someone on your roster. Exactly. Yeah, no, you never would do that. For all you know, it might be Kesselring, and you're fine, right? Like again, like look at the guys that have been on Stanley Cup winning teams. Have high draft picks ever been traded for any of them? Like some of them are waiver pickups. Like Sean Walker was like a $5 million signing for Carolina. Keandre Miller was a late first round pick and an offensive defenseman prospect who I think is pretty good, but like that's not very much to get for an everyday bottom 2 pair defenseman who plays good defensive hockey and gets around the ice really well. Jalen Chatfield was on Carolina. Like that guy, nobody even knew who that was before he came to Carolina. Really? Outside of Canucks fans. Like, if you do your homework, you don't even have to think about the second overall pick being part of the trades or anything. Like someone will make themselves available, especially if a guy like Kesselring is, you trade down 7 spots and you get him. Like, just because you have a valuable asset doesn't mean you got to use it to lose. It doesn't mean you got to lose it at all, in my opinion. That's again like the break in case of emergency level thing. Who has more value, Nemec or Ben Danford? Probably Nemec. Are they going to have comparable careers at this point? Maybe. Danford's looking pretty good for the Marlies, but and I mean there's a better floor to Danford, I think, but I think Nemec is the guy that I'd probably want. There's a rumor about the Flames and Verhoff. What do you think about that over Tynan Lawrence or Viggo Bjork? I mean, it would be fine. I mean, they have so much skill in their stable already, at both forward and defense. I think Verhoff would be a fine pick. I would go a different direction, but I've got Verhoff really close to those guys anyway. I would probably have Lawrence on my list there, and I think he would be a fantastic addition to what they've kind of got going. And I think that you're hoping that Verhoff catches up to those people and grows, and by the time he's 23, you are like, yes, we have an excellent player. Because he's not quite there yet, but it would be fine. I don't think it would be bad. I mean, Bjork would be a tough sell, and Lawrence would be a tough sell, but you could do it. It's just if I relent, and in 5 years, those two guys are doing things and Verhoff is fine, I'm going, yeah. If the Penguins were Oliver Muskegon, we did that. What else is up here? Yeah, I mean, a lot of Villeneuve to the Penguins. He did play for the Junior Penguins.
he has been in Pittsburgh before. So it is possible that Villeneuve is on their radar. How would you comp Blale and Villeneuve? I think Villeneuve's tools are better. He's more explosive. His feet are quicker. His skill is quicker. He's more aggressive. He's more high pace, high energy. Blyle is a better straight line skater, better puck carrier, I would say, in a straight line. He'll go end to end if you want. I just don't think very many guys in the NHL really go end to end as defensemen anymore, for good reason, right? Like, I just don't think that Blyle is going to get that luxury very often, at least at even strength, which is what I value most. And I think that there's a more diverse offensive toolkit to Villeneuve, like in terms of like deception and shaking guys off of him and actually getting into lanes and stuff. Like Blyle, I find, will like shift and shimmy off of a guy, but then shoot it into their shin pads, right? Like it's like a little bit of like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but there's not quite enough there. But yeah, I like Villeneuve more, but I like Blyle a lot. He's been very good this year. Would you trade Luke Hughes and New Jersey's first for Matthew Nyes? I would need to do some serious due diligence on Luke Hughes, man. That's the only thing. I can't tell you. I don't remember seeing him play like at all last year, so I would want to do my homework on that. I don't know. Because he just signed that contract and he did not have a very good year. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. I'd have to do the work. I've watched some games of Villeneuve and heard other opinions. I understand the defense questions, but not the compete one. Do you think there's a compete issue? No. I think Villeneuve... the critical weakness in Villeneuve's game is close quarters defending and board work. Like, if he needs to erase a guy along the boards, he struggles. But I think that you just have to live with that. Like, I just think it's not like he doesn't try. It's just that he is small. And I think that you're just going to have to live with that, right? Like, you look at Lane Hudson. It's like, Lane Hudson along the boards, he's not going to throw a guy to the ice. Is Montreal going to trade Lane Hudson for a guy who does? No. That's just not his job. Right? So I always am looking at the big picture. And I go, with Villeneuve too, the other thing is, as a sort of lateral defenseman, like a cross ice, the modern sort of scooting style of defense, like if you have a rush coming your way and your defensemen are here, like he'll kind of come at the side and push the rush off to the wall. And that's like a modern way of defending the neutral zone now that Lane Hudson does extremely well. It's a legitimate way to defend. I know there are a lot of coaches that really value defending laterally outwards rather than from in front of you and letting that gap close. And I think he's really good at that. Like, there's not a whole lot of evidence that Villeneuve is a real defensive liability in my experience. It's just he can lose a physical battle here and there. But I don't know. I'll be more than happy to take that on. What do you make of the Hiller thing? We talked about Hiller a bit. A lot of criticism, but his LA teams are bordering on dominant. I mean, I think it's a good pick. Again, like I don't understand. I'm not saying you're doing this. I just don't understand the logic. Like, I find that in this day and age, people are so quick to make themselves just miserable. Like, it's like, what difference does it make? What you think the Leafs, instead of having the first overall pick this year and being one of the worst teams in the league down the stretch, if not the worst, they're going to lose every game next year? Like, is that what you're worried about? They were awful. Let them try something, right? They interviewed like a bunch of guys to be GM, and they came down on one of the most controversial choices they possibly could, and they knew it. And now they interview like 60 guys to be head coach, and they come down on Jim Hiller. I mean, either they're completely out of their mind and morons top to bottom, or they just think he's legitimately a good coach that deserves a shot with the system they've got. Right? Like, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but like, I did not hear amazing things about the era that he was in LA, and it wasn't because of him. Like, that was an organization run by old heads from an era of a bygone time in the NHL who believed certain things about certain players and certain stuff where it just suffocates the team and they end up mid. Right? So here comes Jim Hiller, the guy who was part of the coaching staff there. I don't know. If he, again, it's like if you have synergy in the organization, that's what matters. Like, if you're hiring him to be the guy who it's like, well, we're the nerds in the office, he needs to be the hockey man in the dressing room, I don't think it would work. But I don't think that's what they hired him to be. Thank you for yeah, okay. I'm glad I'm your favorite NHL scouting channel. I can't wait to have my bad takes in 5 years. No, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure. It's good to have you. Good to have you. I work hard. I try, at least. Well, most of the time. There's a rumor the Rangers might consider Vigo at 5. Well, now that would be interesting. Prominent mock Pugachev to Pittsburgh. Not the type Dubas and Clark would value. No, I don't see that either at all. Are the Leafs are all areas the Leafs really struggled and they also been in the 1-1-1. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Does Lawrence cap out as a 1C or a 2C for you? I don't really think about it that way. I just think if he is my second line center, I don't think it's a sure bet that he's like a number one center in the league. I mean, I think that a guy like Lawrence lining up against an Austin Matthews or Nathan McKinnon, it would be a massive, massive, massive challenge. But he puts in the work, man. He would make it as hard as he could on those guys to make it work. For me, I think that the idea with Lawrence to me is if he's my second line center, I'm happy. If he's my third line center, I'm thrilled because I think he'll do an extremely good job of it. But I hope he's a more offensively gifted player. Like, if you put him with guys who will crash the net with him, or you put him with guys who can slow the game down, play with a bit, like if I had him on a line with a guy with skill and a guy with real just net driven, I'm going to go to the net type energy, I'd be curious to see how that shakes out. Any company you're bullish on that I should read about? Well, I mean, let me look here. I mean, I will say that I don't generally like, my money is by and large like just index. That's it. That's all you need. The best financial advice you could ever get from anybody, and it's free, could come from me. Just buy index funds and sit on them and just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. If index funds suck and go to zero, the world's coming to an end. And if it dips, it'll recover. The markets are cyclical. You stay ahead of the cyclicality. Just buy index funds that are cheap. If you're in Canada, VEQT. If you're in the States, buy SPY. Just sit on it. That's all you need to do. But what I do for fun, and I find this fun, is gambling my own money on companies. And I'll give you a few of the hits. Let's see. A couple of them are bordering on embarrassing because they have taken dumps, but I do believe in them. One of them is Reddit. Reddit is one that I'm really a big believer in, and that might sound ridiculous, but I'm running an advertising campaign on Reddit right now. I'll tell you, their ad engine is amazing. And I don't think Reddit is going anywhere. I don't think anyone is coming up with a replacement for Reddit that has the panache. I believe in the management team. And I think that it's really funny now as an adult, like reading stuff on Reddit and reading people and going, boy, if they're confident about a thing, it's often the opposite being true. But that doesn't matter. The point is the advertising strategy and how they're implementing AI and the AI licensing stuff that they're doing. Like, I think they're a pioneer in like how you handle copywritten information in the AI era. Like they're getting ahead of the Napster era. Like, in a way, they're kind of like 2020 version of Spotify was, where it's like, we'll play ball, we'll do this the right way. You know, if you guys, this is going to happen, so we're going to play the right way. And I mean, it's an expensive business to own, but I think that's one that I'm going to hold until something terrible happens or it goes to the moon. But off the path, I mean, I'm a believer in emerging markets these days. I think that not only are a lot of them stabilizing and growing quite quickly, some pretty major economies in the world, but the US economy and the fiscal situation in the States is looking awfully tenuous and awfully stressed, and it's not going to get any better. I don't care if you're a conservative or a liberal or anything. I don't know how you fix what they've done, like from a fiscal standpoint, because it either will require raising taxes on every human in America, not just the rich, but I think it will have to require everyone, and it will require some kind of way to control spending programs that people don't want to lose. So to me, I think the American economy will over a period of time become less competitive relative to, especially if you start really putting your foot down on immigration and everything, which countries like the States kind of need. But other countries around the world will pick up the slack. That's what I'm a big believer in, is like they'll go, okay, unreliable, we'll deal with, waste management, there's one. But like unreliable partners, they're the big dogs for now. We'll play ball for now, but internal development, get our fiscal situation underway, especially with the advantages I think that something like AI could bring to something like that if you are a developing economy. Like stabilizing your financial system and encouraging investment. Like, I think that's something that they could do. So there's a couple companies, like dLocal is one, where they do a lot of regulatory middle people things. So like, for example, with Uber, like if you take an Uber in Kenya, and I'm a Canadian, if I go to Kenya and use Uber in Kenya, I'm using their local currency, but it has to be in the back end converted, and all of that. Like Uber has to be tax compliant everywhere they operate. And so instead of employing a bunch of accountants all around the world who can understand every country's tax law and everything like that, they will put dLocal software in between a user and a vendor, and will take care of all of the compliance and governance and tax stuff in between. And I think that's a company that is, I mean, they are exploding, but I think as long as developing markets are still going, that's a big one. And then on top of that is Mercado Libre, which is one that I've invested in a decent amount. Who are, if you don't know, they're like, people say they're the Amazon of South America, but they're more than that. It's like, imagine if Amazon also offered credit cards and like a banking system. So like they offer like an ecosystem, like a financial ecosystem that also is a retail store. And they operate in economies like Argentina, where it's like Amazon kind of doesn't have a foothold, ironically, in South America all that much, because those economies are weird. And like they don't operate quite the same way as what Amazon is used to, and they don't really feel like it's that important. But that is a company that's growing extremely quickly and creating, again, like a service for people that helps them in a part of the world that definitely could benefit from a better financial system, right? So like those are the types of things that I am interested in. What else is in here? Believe it or not, I'm a believer in Pinterest. I think Pinterest is an interesting business, but that's like a long-term thing. I think Pinterest is a thing where everybody assumes nobody uses it. But number one, I think that's because a lot of people don't ever consider, especially women. Like, I think a lot of men talk about Pinterest as if it's this useless service, but it's used by a heck of a lot of women, especially for all kinds of things. That they value in their lives. Men, not so much. I've used it, but also it's very valuable and they're pushing on this as a shopping tool. So if you ever go on Pinterest, and if you're like, I don't know how many of you are homeowners, but if you see something in a store that you really think is cool, you can take a picture of it, dump it into Pinterest, and it'll fetch a bunch of products that are either identical or very similar, and you can purchase them directly through the application. So if you're like at someone's house and you're like, wow, that's a really cool lamp. Where did you get that? And they're going to be like, I don't know, some flea market. You're going to be like, well, I can't go to that. You take a picture of it, and if it fetches stuff that looks like it, you can buy that lamp right away from the app. And 75% of the people that use Pinterest are not in North America, but 25% of the money that Pinterest makes comes from outside North America. So a wide majority of people are not properly monetized on Pinterest's platform that actually use it. It gets used a ton in Asia. It gets used more and more in Europe. In North America, it's kind of slowing down, but young people do use it. And here's the other thing that sucked me in, and then we'll go back to hockey after this. It sucked me in because statistically speaking, if a company does a brand deal and a marketing deal through influencers on Pinterest, they get the second best return on investment statistically behind TikTok. So if you are a business that's trying to sell a product, the ones that are most likely to actually get click-throughs and purchases is TikTok and then Instagram, or TikTok and then Pinterest. So they're growing. I think that they need to make some tweaks that I don't have any control over. So there's the risk in it, but generally they know what they need to do. They know what they're trying to accomplish. And it's a pretty cheap company to own, relatively speaking, I would say. So you're betting on some stuff with that one, but I think it's and when I use it, I think it's really, really good. It just doesn't get used all that much in my life, but it does have value. It needs some tweaks, but it has value, I think. My question's on if it would be, oh no, we did that. Which rookie will develop under Jim Hiller, Stenberg or McKenna? Honestly, McKenna. I think it would be McKenna, based on what he says. If I take him at his word, that is. I thought Jim Hiller's system was based on hard forechecking and collapsing defensively, similar to Berube. Do you see it differently? I mean, I think I think that what Jim Hiller said was that he plays the style he believes the team requires. So I think he just kind of works from the guys that are on the team and goes backwards from that. So whatever that means, I don't know what that looks like for Toronto. What's your skin routine? I'm not gonna lie. I think I've been blessed by God with pretty decent skin, at least better than when I was 16. You know, that was rough. Because I just shower a lot, you know, and I don't really think about it too much. I also try not to get too angry on the internet. Like, I think that does a lot of wonders for your skin, is just when you're not angry at the internet, you know? Like, touching grass is probably pretty good for your skin. Given how much stupid crap these teams do and ask in interviews, why are teams equally invested in those responses in regards to deciding factors? I don't know. I don't have an idea. Apparently, the Ottawa Charge have reached a deal to play at the Senators Arena. Good. They deserve it. Oh my God. Belchitz feels like Mantha? Kinda. Yeah, maybe I could see where you're coming from. Cam Reed committed to Michigan. Yeah, that makes sense. Craig Button said Alexander Zhuravsky had first-line potential. Well, he also said Alexander Nikishin was the best player not playing in the NHL, and I don't think that's true. I don't know. He can say whatever he wants. Whatever. I don't agree with that. What scares me with the Leafs is the whole connection with Radish. I don't think there actually is much to that. And especially with the new GM. Like, I get the feeling that John Chaika will do the math on this and go, yeah, like, I'd rather get, someone else, like more Emil Andre type guys, you know? Like, in the NHL, like, I think if I were general manager, like, my goal would be ignore guys like Radish and try to find the Radishes that are out there that are Radish before Radish. Right? Like, who are the Gustav Forslings? Who are the Shane Gostisbeheres? Who are the Sean Walkers? Who are the, those guys? That's what I would be focused on. That's what I would want my pro scouts doing. It's like, all right, find the guys that are like in the AHL or on bottom pairs or second pairs that the teams are not using them right. Or in a good role, they're going to do better. Did you see Felix Farhamar committed to UMass? No, I didn't, but that also makes sense. I like Farhamar. Fun player to watch. I don't know if he's an NHL player, but like, interesting. It's a good spot to go. Are you going to watch the World Cup game tonight? Absolutely. Who's your favorite football player? I mean, like, I don't watch a ton of soccer, but like a lot of times watching. Every time I see Messi play, I just go like, all right. It's like Connor McDavid. It's like he's touched by God. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something about him where it's like, I'm not a big believer in the whole religion thing, but I would say that I'm roughly spiritual, and like something in the universe, like some thing, sometimes once in a while, there's an individual that comes along and it's just like, they are just better than everyone at a thing. There is just nothing about them that holds them back from being better than somebody at a thing. And I think Messi is one of those. I'm trying to think of other ones. Vozinha, the goalkeeper for Cape Verde Islands, that guy's my hero now. But I mean, it's a bad answer probably, and not an exciting one. But like Lionel Messi is incredible. I just like the stuff he was doing the other night. I just was like, oh my, like I would be watching the game and I'm just like, oh my god, like what do you even do? Like how do you like what do you even do? Yeah, it's crazy how good he is. He's 38 years old, scored a hat trick against Algeria. I mean, that team wasn't that bad either. Like Algeria was not that bad, and it didn't matter. Like he just is incredible. I'm trying to remember, like when I was a kid, who was around then. Like everybody liked Ronaldo back then, Ronaldinho. But no, I think it's Messi for me. You think Anderson costs him a couple million with his play this year? Or does he get close to the 90 wanted because of one of two defensemen in this class that are desirable? I think someone's going to pay up for him. I think he might have burned a little bit, but yeah, I think someone will give him something close to what he wants. What do you think is Jonas Lagerberg-Hohen's ceiling or comparison? I'd say second line scoring winger. I really like him. I think he has as much skill and confidence and swagger and just puck control that he could go a long way, man. I think I have him ranked around where I would have him if he wasn't, maybe a little lower, but because of the injury, but like he's around where I probably would have had him if he wasn't injured. That's why he's there. But he's really good. I bet he could be one of these guys where everyone's like, who? What? Who? Okay. 9 games this year, really? How old do you feel now that Dan Cloutier's son was drafted into the OHL? I mean, what do you want? Like, I'm old? Yeah. Like, I mean, Dan Cloutier was around when I was a kid. I remember him. And like, I don't know. I've got friends that have like 5-year-olds. So, you know, like kids grow up, man. Time flies. It'll happen to you, you know? Any news on Spence and his availability? I don't know, but I'd be clamoring to go get him. If it costs me a couple of like if I'm Toronto and it costs me a third and a fourth to get him or something, like a trade the pick I just got from Philadelphia to get Jordan Spence or Ottawa, sorry, I'd try to pry him out of Ottawa if he's available for sure. What do you anticipate will be the worst pick in the draft in context? I don't. We'll have to wait and see. You can ask me that on the Monday after the draft, and then we'll see. Yeah, Walker was not even $5 million. Exactly, yeah. NHL GM skeptical of short defensemen. Tell me something I don't know. Someone at the New York Times wrote an article about teams winning cups with big defensemen not even 2 days after Walker and Gall. Yeah, I mean, that was Pronman. Like, I don't know. They're free to believe. Like, again, we knew this was going to happen. Like, even when something happens that is like, hey, they did things differently and it worked really well. It's like, well, it wasn't that did it. It was the other stuff. It wasn't them. It was this other thing, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, like this is what, like, again, like I've had multiple people be like, I don't understand why people aren't more like us. And that's Carolina. It's like, I don't understand how we've come this far and done all we've done. And still people are like, those guys are the dumb ones. But people find ways to explain their biases. It's just I do it too. But, you know, I remember Matthews deking Chatfield and scoring a highlight reel. Yeah, I remember watching Chatfield in Vancouver and being like stunned that he was sticking around in the NHL, but he looks pretty good. Leafs are going to use Andre to show Borghese how to be 5'9" and make the NHL. Maybe. Casual fans on the internet who staple every good prospect as generational pisses me off. Yeah, I mean, generational, I think you can only really assign that to players where every single time they step on the ice is the level they're playing at, you just go, holy effing crap. Holy crap. And I think the only one that, in my experience, that you could really do that with without sometimes wanting to pull your hair out might be McDavid. At least in my experience. Matthews. Maybe, but what would you make of a trade of Nyes for 4th overall and Renzel and Moore? I mean, that's the thought that was in my head. That's the thought that we had in my head. When do we find out if we're in the mock draft based on filling out the form? When all the spots are filled. If you have signed up, if you filled out the form, you're in. So you'll get an email Monday morning with all the details and the links and everything. But you're in. Yeah, I see you in here. You're in. But yeah, I mean, with Nyes, like if Chicago wants to pay all of that, I would think about it. And if you get a Stenberg out of it, Stenberg, Renzel, and Oliver Moore, I don't think Chicago should do that, but I would really think about it. Yeah, Jordan Spence going to Carolina for Bradley Nadeau. Exactly. Yeah, that would be something. Did you see the Leafs interviewing the head of the NHL draft combine, explaining what the scouts look for in each of the combine exercises and what each exercise? I did not see that. Did you see Kiprios say there's a suggestion that Bobrovsky wants 42 over 6 or 7? Haha, 6-7. Okay. Someone will give it to him. He's Sergei Bobrovsky. Someone will give it to him. RIP SpaceX. I think it's recovered today. I think it's up at like 100. Well, its markets are closed now. Yeah, it's like $184. It hit 170 or whatever earlier today, but it'll be all right. Don't worry. I hope. Maybe. Any idea about Kurban Limatov, part of a Spence trade? If you could trade Kurban Limatov for Jordan Spence, you do that every day. I like Limatov, but yeah. Looking back on community drafts, might need to change how I use my thirds. Silayev, Hudson, Moore with Hs and Horkoff value. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, my community is really smart, and all the good players are gone by the 3rd round, so it's just kind of having fun at that point. You know what I mean? But you got Horkoff at 63. That's a win. And I'd argue Aitchison at 31 is solid. Not a huge fan of him, but like that's a fine option. And getting Cole Hudson at 38, yeah, you're a genius, man. That's 3 solid picks by being well, one was you were pretty high, the other one being one of the last teams. That's pretty good. Don't be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself, man. There's some stuff that's, probably better than some of my polls. Thoughts on Vladimir Stirkunov and Yevgeny Yakunin? I know a lot about Stirkunov, but not Yakunin. I love Stirkunov. Dynamic, creative offensive player. Really fun to watch. He might be the next Mikhail Gulyayev for all I know. Sounds like you want to see Lawrence between Nyes and Nylander. Yes. That would be fun. What do you value more in a prospect analysis? Younger age or higher quality of league? I mean, probably the league quality. Probably league quality. What do you think of Zach Whitecloud costing? I would get Zach Whitecloud. I remember, I think you can go back and see it after the trade, but I think on this show, I said, like, with Whitecloud, I think Calgary may have not taken that much of a downgrade from what I remember of Anderson this year. He's just a really good, solid defenseman. And yeah, like, if I were San Jose, would I trade 27th overall for Zach Whitecloud? They seem to want a first round pick for him. That I might think about. I think Whitecloud's really good for what he is. When do you start next year's draft? Probably August, like in preparation for the Hlinka. That's generally when I start. I got to take a couple of weeks though, at least, like we're like once July 1st comes and goes, it's filming draft recaps and prospect pipelines. But once that's done, it's a couple of weeks of not doing a whole lot, which I am looking forward to. I get to read a book. There's books I want to read in that time. I'm going to read some books. Radish before Radish should be on a t-shirt. I agree. How are teams still stepping on rakes when it comes to players like Radish and signing them to long-term deals? Because they think it's an easy fix. It makes you look good to your owner. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes you look like you to your owner. They're like, yes, we got the big ticket guy. I like my GM. You know, like a bunch of the moves made often and draft decisions and stuff, they're like made out of self-preservation, right? Like, NHL teams are drafting the 6'5" defenseman with 6 points for the Moose Jaw Warriors in the 5th round because they can go, well, at least he was big. And in 5 years, they may not have signed him, but like, at least he was big and we tried. And if it worked, it would have been great. And it didn't. Therefore, I get to keep my job. You know what I mean? Like, I've had discussions with scouts being like, yeah, it's a good player, but like, a coach might not play him. And if he's a good player, but the coach doesn't play him, then he's not a good player. I'm going, okay. All right, fair enough, but I don't, okay. Caulfield is messy, yeah. Who's been the biggest shock draft pick you've seen in the last 5 years? Probably Yegor Chinikov. That one was pretty wild. Last year, Pyotr Andrianov was pretty nuts. That was a pretty good one. But yeah, those ones for sure. Bjork feels more Calgary than Drury to me, but simultaneously I could see teams getting behind the curve on Stankoven. I mean, sure. I don't think Bjork is Stankoven, but I mean, Calgary would make a lot of sense. But he's small, and Calgary would have too many small guys, and then they would automatically be bad. We all know. What's the reason behind Bjork feeling like a Calgary pick? Because he's a very smart and talented offensive player that plays a competitive, high-energy style of play. And they seem to draft those types of guys recently. Crosby is generational. Yeah, I would say so. Sure. Celebrini with another year or two. Yeah, Celebrini certainly this year looked like a hell of a hockey player. One of the best in the world. Thoughts on Hellebuck maybe getting traded? I mean, the Jets, my mock draft will come out Monday. It's available for subscribers, again, if you want to, get it now. But it seems like Winnipeg is kind of teetering on the edge of their first rebuild. Like, who they pick this year and the picks they have, like, it sets the stage for like the next generation of Jets. Like, that's the party is over, I think, or at least it's very close to over in Winnipeg with regards to like the holdovers from the early days, from 2011 and all those guys that were picked in that era. Like, they're getting older and the team is not as good. And if Hellebuck is the guy that's on his way out, then we'll see what happens. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. What if Lawrence is available at 27, yet you traded the pick for White Cloud? Well, that's a risk you have to take. Picture books don't count. How did you know? What the heck, man? This is ridiculous. Am I crazy for having Lagerberg at 15? No. Look, nobody is crazy. As long as you can defend it, it's crazy. Oh, I forgot that Tony messaged me. What's the meanest and nicest thing you've been told about your rankings from people in the hockey world? The nicest thing someone told me this year is that they are scorching hot, but extremely defensible. That's all I want. As long as people think it's defensible, that's all I want to come across as. I mean, the meanest thing, I've had people swearing at me. That's not very nice. But I do have real books. I'm reading Richer, Wiser, Happier. That's a really good book. There's a book back there about the Japanese financial crisis of the 90s that I want to read about. That's one. That's a fun one. Why is size such a commodity in the draft when these guys are young and their bodies are not done growing? Again, it's self-preservation. There's a certainty. If you see a guy who's 6'4", he's 6'4". It is a lot easier to take a 6'4" player and go, I'm holding on and we're going to see how it goes and trust the process. And if it works, you look great. And you're not betting on uncertainty. People don't like uncertainty. Like perceived uncertainty, right? Like, people are thinking about it like, who are we going to add to our system that will play in the NHL? Because if we draft guys who do not who do not, if we draft guys in the NHL who do not play, then I lose my job. Right? So it's a commodity because it's the easy default. It's the easy default of like, well, they're big and they'll grow into their frame and they'll get better and better. And then at the end of the day, that's it. That's it. And maybe it works. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. Will there ever be a Dustin Byfuglien again? Gleb Pugachev, just not as a defenseman. I don't know. But yeah, he was one of a kind. Verdi Svensk, yeah. Lawrence is the one guy who I might be tempted to draft at 31. Yeah, if he's there, I would be taking him. No problem. I wonder what percentage of your picks the scout thought was defendable. Next time I'll ask. I'll send him the updated list and I'll ask. Back in April, you had Carroll's pretty low. Do you feel like you appreciate some of his game sense or feel like he's a late first? I mean, I think mid first. I think the defensive game has grown a ton this season, and then we got to go. It's already running really late. I think the defensive game for him is really strong. And I think that's a positive. I still don't trust it as projectable as he is, but I think he's very smart and tactical with it. And there are some good playmaking moments. Like with Carroll's, it almost doesn't matter. He's going to go like top 5. And I know I'm not alone thinking that that's a little rich. But once you're in the sort of Verhoff, Reed region on my list, the Gustafsson, Malhotra range, then sure, I think he's part of that team. He's fine. I just think that he's people are getting taken with the story again. He's a farm boy, he's big and he's strong and he's throws hay bales for a living and like blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, great, cool, but like there are still problems in his game. Like, and I don't know if his offensive game translates super well, at least not as is at 5-on-5. Like, I see a lot of people posting clips of him and it's like, yeah, he's a good skater, but like he's got an extra man on the ice. Like I don't really care that much about a guy who can skate circles around WHL guys on the power play. Like, that doesn't really, it's fun, but his defensive game is good, his physical game is good. That's what keeps him in that range for me. But he needs guidance. He needs experience and time. Like, I saw someone saying he's going to be in the NHL next year. I think that's outrageous. I don't see that at all. But he's fun. He's a good one. Okay, well, I got to answer this. Who would be the best at hockey, a goose, an eagle, or a hummingbird, or a toucan? Well, it wouldn't be an eagle because there's no real advantage to being above the game. A hummingbird probably wouldn't be very good because they probably can't handle a puck. You know what, though? Since they're all birds, you don't want a bird walking. A goose would be tough to beat because they're pretty ferocious and defensive. But an eagle has the dive bomb. An eagle can take the puck in the air and dive bomb it into the net at 160 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So it depends on what's a goaltender here. So it's a tough call. It's got to be a goose or an eagle. I don't think a toucan sounds like the profile of a player that everybody says is good at everything, and then they end up not doing anything because they don't really do much really well. Like, they don't have a job. Whereas a goose you can kind of identify, and an eagle you can kind of identify. So it'd probably be like goose versus eagle, and that would be a tough one. Be curious. What's your prediction for Canada, Qatar? 1-1. It's going to be 1-1. Which NHL mascot or nickname wins a 32-team fight? The Mammoth. I don't know how you beat a mammoth. Well, Lightning could beat a mammoth. It wouldn't be the Leafs. Canadians certainly wouldn't. We've kind of learned a thing or two since the Geneva Convention. So Vancouver's out. Edmonton would be out. Calgary are the Flames. The Flames could beat Mammoth. Panthers would lose to Flames. Lightning and Flames. Lightning cause Flames, so there's no Flames without Lightning. Yeah, Yeah, the toucan would be too busy to try and sell cereal on the bench. An avalanche, yes, an avalanche versus a lightning storm is an interesting proposition. I mean, lightning and avalanche and flames automatically beats all the animals. A hurricane beats an avalanche because a hurricane would probably dissipate an avalanche awfully quickly. And a jet would certainly lose to a hurricane. The Senators are toast immediately. Canadian Senators are notoriously, just people, They're like mail people. They're like people who deliver mail, basically. You're like, okay. The Kraken, well, the lightning would beat the Kraken for sure, because conducting electricity and being an aquatic animal probably doesn't seem like a good mix. It might be hurricanes, because hurricanes put out fires, hurricanes dissipate avalanches. Lightning happens in hurricanes, but the hurricanes cause the lightning. Oh, you know what, though? The Stars. It might be the Dallas Stars. Because stars just extinguish hurricanes, period. Not much can beat a star. If there was a Halifax black holes, right, the Sens are like Spartans, but like you put a phalanx of Spartans on the surface of a star, they're done. That's it. They're cooked, literally. So, makes you think. Good question, though. Anyway, we're going to call it there. It's almost 4:30. We've been going for a while. So thanks for joining. We'll be back for the community mock draft Monday. Again, if you haven't registered and want to, now is the time. I am plopping it into the chats for both streams. So get signed up if you want to join. We still have, it looks like 7 spots left now. So last 7 spots, if you don't get in, we'll put you on the reserve list. Usually people don't show up. And sometimes people don't show up at the time of, and the people who are on the reserve list don't respond to my emails. So if you want to be part of it, watch anyway. We'll see you Monday night. Got to rest up. We got a big week next week. I hope you're all as excited as I am. Christmas is almost here. Santa Claus is prepping the sled, doing his thing, lubricating the engine. Well, never mind. We're not going to go down that. We're not going to go down that road. So thanks very much. We'll see you Monday night, 8 p.m. sharp. First pick goes off the board at 8:30 p.m. And if you're not there, you get shamed, and the community picks your picks for you. And they can be ruthless. So we'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. Okay, bye.